What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, the PlayStation 5 Pro and 30th anniversary hardware went up for pre-order on their website, and didn't go so well. When it released, people were thrown into never-ending queues only for things to be sold out, and of course, Scalpers, well, they're having a field day right now. We'll go over all of that here today. Also, we did have Microsoft hold their stream for Tokyo Game Show, and I went through and grabbed every announcement. We'll go through that line by line here, and we're also going to be talking about Nintendo and their museum as previews for it actually went live, and well, you're gonna have to check out some of the stuff from the merch shop because it's absolutely wild. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. We're gonna start today with a listing that was spotted seemingly from Sony, and it seems like it falls in line with some of their recent plans when it comes to introducing retro games to the newer audience through the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4. This, we can see, this is over on the Korean's ratings board, and it is from Sony Interactive Entertainment for Siren. Okay, so we've kind of heard this back and forth here and there about people were speculating on that maybe being a game, a newer one that was being worked on, it's being rebooted. But keep in mind, we do of course have the PlayStation Plus with the premium and like the retro or the classic selection. It would actually make sense for Siren to be one that they would put in there on the PlayStation 2. Now that they have that all worked out and set up maybe with trophies and all the other features they have here. Siren, now looking at it, came out more than, actually just over 20 years ago now. It was like one of those staggered releases. Like in Japan, it came out in, let's say 2003, and then I think the following year it came out in other regions like worldwide in the US, but still, I mean, 20 some odd years later, it would be cool to see that thrown into PlayStation Plus Premium. But for me, the more PS2 games, the better, because they have this completely opened up now. You might as well just start packing it with all kinds of cool releases from the early 2000s. Also, we got a bit of an update here for Black Myth Wukong when it comes to the sales figures. This we can see posted up. This is from Dean Takahashi, saying Ken Kutaragi noted Black Myth Wukong sold 20 million copies in a month. Now, this is at Tokyo Game Show where Ken Kutaragi, the father of PlayStation, held an entire panel kind of just talking about the industry as a whole. And I might actually do a video at some point going over this because he said some very interesting things. Like he had some pretty good insight at times, and some were even reading into it for just Sony in general and their future and what their plans are. But Black Myth Wukong, 20 million copies. Remember, it sold 10 million copies in like 3 days or something. Now at 20 million, and we're still waiting for a physical copy to come out at some point. So, this is absolutely staggering to see this game sell this many copies. I know the vast majority, I would say, are in China, but still, it's a sale's a sale at this point for them, right? So, I mean, in that sense, it's the most successful game, I feel like, of the year. It's going to stand up against games like Call of Duty, for example, but I still think at its current velocity, it probably will end up being the best-selling game of the year. We're just in September. It sounds like the holiday season and stuff coming up, so there I'm sure plenty of runway still for more sales. We might be hearing about like a 30 or even 40 million unit number before it's all said and done for it.
Today's video is sponsored by DeleteMe. I think by now most of us have become aware of just how much information we give some of these big companies and websites when we're online. Data brokers collect huge amounts of personal information from users using public records and social media. Once they're done aggregating and analyzing the data, they then license and sell it to other brokers or organizations. Having your information sold and circulated online brings along heightened risk of identity theft, along with becoming a target of phishing scams. It's also much easier for anyone who wants to find out more about you to do so using basic searches online. DeleteMe works to remove your personal information that's being sold online. I personally used DeleteMe to review my online presence, which yielded a personal report detailing hundreds of listings that they looked through, along with some that were found with removals in progress right away. DeleteMe even checks listings regularly throughout the year to keep you updated. I like having all the information provided in one spot here with the privacy dashboard, as well as them checking in consistently on potential past phone numbers, addresses, or relatives that are being found with data brokers. Remove your personal information from the web at joindeleteme.com/spawn20 and use code SPAWN20 for 20% off. Thanks to DeleteMe for sponsoring today's video.
And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the PlayStation 5 Pro and the 30th anniversary theme themed accessories with the controllers and the portal. And then, of course, that PlayStation 5 Pro bundle that people were really interested in, even though there's been the whole discourse of the PS5 Pro, people just kind of passing on it. They're not really sure why anyone will buy it. Well, I mean, there's just over 12,000 of that 30th anniversary bundle. Naturally, they're probably going to sell all of them, we would assume. So to me, it's not shocking that it sold out, especially as fast as it did. I think it took an hour maybe, and it was just completely gone. But of course, people were trying to get this system, this bundle, even though it did retail at $1,000, which, okay, if you add everything up, the PlayStation 5 Pro, the charging station, the DualSense Edge controller, yeah, you're right about $1,000. Then you tack on a little, I guess, a tax for the color scheme and the theming for the 30th anniversary, sure. But as soon as those pre-orders went live at 10 a.m. Eastern time, you click through the website, you were put in a queue, and a bar just filled up. And a lot of people, when they came out of the other side, it was just gone. It was sold out. And, of course, well, we see Scalpers going crazy right now on eBay. If you just look through the listings now, they've marked it up 4 times the amount. I've seen some north of $4,000, others at like $3,500 to $3,850. Now, I will say, these would just be the active selling listings, all right? So these aren't ones that have actually sold yet, but if you do go over to the sold listings, I did spot a couple in there that were north of $3,000, but if you again look a little closer, some of those are best offer. So someone could have clicked on it and been like, look, I'll give you $1,500 for it. They might have taken it. I don't think they would, because technically when it comes down to everything with the eBay fees, probably the PayPal fees and anything else, it's like, what was the point? So I do think most of them were looking for at least more than $2,000, probably more than $3,000, especially this early on, because people are still running around trying to find the 30th anniversary edition. The good news, though, is it seems if you're someone who's just interested in the regular PS5 Pro, it's actually not that bad. I did see on eBay some were popping up for about $1,000, which you go from $700 to $1,000 if you're marking them. Typically, if you mark something up like this and you're looking to do a big resell on it, you'd like to double up. Because again, all the fees and stuff on top of it, that generally it's like whatever you paid for it, and then just add on top, multiply it by 2. Sometimes 3 if you can get away with it. Well, in this case, it doesn't seem like the PS5 Pro is really pulling that much interest on the secondhand market. It's all about that 30th anniversary edition. If you go on Sony's website now, the add to cart button is still there. I was having a hard time on the website, and people have to let me know in the comments if this was something they were going through, where I'd click the add to cart button and nothing would happen. Like, it looked like the website was refreshing very, very fast, like milliseconds. It would just kind of flash, but nothing was getting added. So my plan now, because I wasn't going for the 30th anniversary, I was looking for the regular one, and it's doing some weird website thing. I'll look to see if I can go to a GameStop or a Best Buy. I believe that's October 10th, where the open pre-orders there. I'll get there when they open and see if I can grab one that way, because, of course, I do want to check this thing out when it releases. We'll do a teardown on it and see how they worked out some of the engineering inside. And then, yeah, we'll check it out with some games, maybe do some comparisons and stuff. It should be a lot of fun just to see how exactly this all came together at that $700 price point. But yeah, unfortunately, 30th anniversary, if you're looking for that one, probably going to cost you quite a bit of money, maybe even upwards of a couple $1,000s at this point. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft at Tokyo Game Show. So going into this, I didn't have high expectations. It's Microsoft in Japan. It's like, we know that's like one of the smaller markets for them, even though they constantly talk about trying to break through into that marketplace all the time. It's just, the 360 is probably the strongest they've ever been there. That's sold like 1.5 million units. Ever since then, it's been pretty much downhill. And the Xbox Series, while it's treading water with what the Xbox One was doing, it's not exactly taking things to the next level for them. But still, they actually showed up with a pretty good showing. I will give them this. We'll go through again, top to bottom here, starting with actually Metal Gear Solid Delta. Unfortunately, still no release date. Okay, I'm a little confused on this one, Konami, because it still says 2024, I believe, and it doesn't seem like it's coming out in 2024. So I can only assume sometime this weekend, which I think Konami is doing something at Tokyo Game Show. All I can assume is that they're going to give us a release date at some point before the end of this weekend. We'll see, but they at least had another showing for it, and it looks great. It does. Every time they show it, I think it looks better and better and better, so I'm excited to revisit Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, just in a whole new light here with Delta. Then we had My Hero Academia Overwatch 2, a bit of a crossover there, Age of Mythology Retold. Then we had Phil Spencer appear on stage. He says it's the largest number of Xbox consoles in Japan region to date, which... Okay, so if you go back to the Xbox 3, I mean, there could be 360s that are technically still, I guess, running in households right now in Japan. If you do that, you count all of them, then sure. Yeah, I'm more curious about when it comes to the Xbox Series and if it's working to grow the brand with the newest system, but you can do a play on words there, and technically it's correct. Starfield Shattered Space, though, that's fully localized in Japan, and that's coming out actually next week, September 30th. I'm very interested in this because it's all relegated to one planet. Seems like it's a bit more of a tight-knit experience that they can more or less build a narrative out of compared to having this big open world, open galaxy universe they have with Starfield. So even has some hints of like maybe a horror style. Either way, then we move on to Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Flight Simulator 2024, Indiana Jones The Great Circle. That's fully localized in Japan as well. That's coming out December 9th. Avowed, South of Midnight, Doom, The Dark Ages, and Fable all had mentions here as Phil Spencer pretty much rapid fired through them. And then talked about StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2, PC Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate, those coming out November 5th. Then we have Tanuki Pond Summer, Threads of Time, which I thought looked really cool, like this retro-inspired art style, almost like HD 2D, kinda. Then we have We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie. That's out now in Game Pass. So that's a really cool addition there. A couple more, by the way, as we go along. Fragpunk, that's that FPS that's mixed with cards. We've seen this before, but closed beta, October 10th. Metaphor ReFantazio, another appearance here. Again, reminder, the demo is out, and it's actually several hours long, so get started on the game now, and of course, look forward to its release second week of October. We have Atelier Yumiya, that's March 21st, 2025. Azrajang Rumble, Bleach Rebirth of Souls, that's early 2025. Sin Duality, Echo of Ada, that's January 24th, 2025. Fallout 76, they're going to let you have camp pets. That's later this year. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster made another appearance. That's March 6th, 2025. All You Need Is Help, that is out now in Game Pass. Then we saw Slitterhead, which that's actually out, I believe, in November. And game looks very, very weird, but I'm here for it. Just to see what exactly they come up here when it comes out. Then we have the Star Bites, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. That's November 14th, which this was a good chance for them to announce a demo. Unfortunately, they didn't, and I have to imagine they're going to closer to its... I'm really crossing my fingers for the demo because I want to get my hands on Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D as soon as possible. But some games you can play right now include Trials of Mana and Legend of Mana. Those are in Game Pass now, and I do like these Game Pass drops, like immediately as they're going through the presentation. Just gives you something to play immediately, especially if you missed out on, I would say, Trials of Mana. That's the big recommendation here. Awesome game. Yes, it's a bit older, but if you haven't played it up to this point and you have Game Pass, check it out. It is an awesome title. And then the big closeout, technically, which unfortunately for them leaked out early on the Xbox Store. A banner appeared that showed Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered Collection. This is 1 through 6, and of course it's been out on the Switch, PlayStation, PC, phones, finally now going to Xbox. There's a lot of questions around why it wasn't on Xbox yet. But here it is, and it's just out for sale. So none of them went into Game Pass or anything, not that they couldn't in the future, but they did at least finally release them for all the Xbox fans out there. I'm sure they were asking. But overall, I checked, it's like an hour plus showing here, like an hour, 20 minutes or something. So it's pretty good. Like I said, I don't expect a lot out of Microsoft when they do like make an appearance at Tokyo Game Show with some sort of stream, because it's just not a big region for them. But there were some pretty good games here, some good Game Pass drops, and for what I expected of Microsoft, I would say this was at least a halfway decent, maybe even above average showing for them. However, I will say, no Final Fantasy 16, no Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Rebirth, which I wouldn't expect any of the Final Fantasy 7 Remake series to go to Xbox until they complete it on PlayStation, and then they're ready basically to release all of them at once. That'll probably be around when the time of a timed exclusivity deal runs up. Final Fantasy 16, though, should be about ready, so I'm a little surprised it wasn't here, but who knows? Maybe Square Enix shows up at another big event like the Game Awards, or they just drop a press release at some point, because I do expect Final Fantasy 16 to go to Xbox at some point in time. It's really just a matter of when at this point, especially based around many of the comments that Square themselves have been making about making a big multi-platform push over the coming years. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Nintendo Museum. It actually opens next week on October 2nd, but press had a chance to go through early and do a bunch of previews on it, which, I mean, we already kind of got the gist, I feel like, of the Nintendo Museum, minus maybe a closer look at some of the attractions or historical pieces that they have set up, but I have an idea as to what to expect. But something I wasn't necessarily expecting was actually to be really, really intrigued by the gift shop, really, the merchandise that they have there. Now, typically you go to a museum, you see all the stuff, and then on the way out, they have that gift shop for you to get a souvenir that you'll probably forget about like a month later or something. In this case, though, Nintendo has some pretty cool stuff there, and now I'm thinking, okay, how do I get some of the stuff from that museum? Although I'm sure people will go there, buy stuff, and then just list it on eBay for 2 or 3 times the price. But there are many pictures here, actually, and I'll link to this site down below. They had like 90-something images, and most of it was just from the merch shop because it was so interesting. Now, some of these images are for Game Watch and Press, and right away, giant pillows for controllers. Look, it's not new, but from an official first-party sense, technically from Nintendo, right? Famicom, N64. The best one, I think, is absolutely that Wii Remote, the Wii Remote pillow. It looks massive, by the way. And they do have, like, basic Nintendo museum-branded stuff, hats, bags, basic stuff there. But as you go through, each generation or system has its own section. So they start even with, like, the history for their, like, toys. And then they go on to Famicom and etc. They kind of work up through the years, but I think each section looks great. They have a ton of mugs. It's like a big thing, apparently. Just mugs all over the place. And yes, there is a GameCube section. It looks great. There's also a Virtual Boy section, which I know I like the GameCube. I gotta say, just for the fact that they have it, I feel like I would want things like a Virtual Boy shirt, a mug. Like, obviously the color scheme is really cool, that black on red, and yeah, but the fact that they have it in, like, they actually went all out for something like the Virtual Boy in, like, the merchandise section is pretty funny. They also have keychains for controllers and the Game Boy, which I guess is like a blind box. It's, you buy the box and you hope that what you want is in there. But in this case, there's a lot of stuff going on at this shop. They have a lot of images that I mentioned in their website. I'll have a link down below in the sources. And you basically can go through, you can window shop, check out all this cool stuff for a place that you probably won't get out to anytime soon, as Nintendo they had to like raffle off tickets just for people to get in October 2nd. And it tells me even beyond opening, that place is going to be constantly packed. So it's, again, maybe some of the stuff will pop up on eBay and that's how you can get it, because something tells me it's going to be quite a while before it's easy even to get a ticket there, let alone making the plans to, fly out to Japan and do all that, because it doesn't seem like Nintendo right now is very interested in opening museums all across the world. They're good with just this one, but who knows, maybe that GameCube shirt will pop up on eBay for like $100 or something and tempt me in the middle of the night to click buy it now at 1 a.m. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you have a custom gaming PC, when was the last time you upgraded your video card? Well, 30% just stick with a pre-build, never upgrade the GPU. The leading vote, though, 24% say 4+ years ago. Then on the flip side, 18% say within the last year. And I do wonder just kind of the way things are going on the PC side, where, to be honest, a lot of people are fine with 1440p. Like, how much more do you have to push your GPU now versus like a decade ago, where I will say it felt like at one point in time it was constant upgrade. Although I say a decade ago, it might have been like 15 years ago. It felt like we were upgrading GPUs pretty consistently to keep up. Doesn't seem that way much anymore. So I understand some people are like, oh yeah, 4+ years. It is getting close to be like a 4 or 5 year upgrade cycle. And that does start to then mirror just console upgrade life cycles in general. But hey, the 50 series right around the corner, maybe CES 2025, be exciting to see a $1,200 and then maybe a $2,000 price flash on screen. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Boy, who says, why are we even talking about 8K if we can't get 4K 60, let alone 4K 120? Some, if not most games, can't even do 1080p 60 without dips. I would assume a lot of it's marketing. Say, oh yeah, 8K is obviously more than 4K. There are many people out there who just don't really care as much about frame rates above 60. but they might be kind of intrigued by 8K if they can afford it. If it's not like $5,000 for a TV. It's just something you can kind of flash. It's flashy. It's easier to put on screen. You can dress up 8K a bit more. It's just the frame rate thing. We've had 60 frames for a long time. We've had 120 frames for a long time as well. Not necessarily just TVs, but like computers and stuff, but 4K, still trying to be figured out. 8K sounds like a whole other world at this time. Again, easier to market, make your device feel much more premium to say 8K over even 120 FPS. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll have it up here in a card next to me. Or maybe you wanted to see the first hour and a half or so of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I actually posted that gameplay up yesterday where I sort of talked my way through it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.